It's now time for On the Line with Cheryl Wilkerson. The conversation will range from local dialogue to international. This show is meant to enlighten, inform, and to inspire. On the Line with Cheryl Wilkerson begins now.
Hello, welcome to On the Line. I'm your host, Cheryl Wilkerson. So glad you're joining me on a Sunday morning on the line. Tell your friends, listen at 11 o'clock. Look, today's show, you're going to be talking about this for weeks and weeks and weeks. As a matter of fact, you're going to go back and listen to the playback, WNSBonline.org, when that is posted, because today's interview, no pressure on my guest today, of course, but today's interview is just going to be one of those that you're just going to want to hear again and again and again, because I think it will help us in our lives daily. So we welcome to the program, well, how should I put this? Well, maybe I should tell you this. He was the 1988 CIAA Player of the Year. He was the 1988 NABC Division II All-American. He was 1989 CIAA Player of the Year. He was 1988 Street and Smith All-American. He was 3 times All-Conference in the CIAA. He played in the NBA. He played with Miami, Dallas, Washington, and Denver. He went into the Virginia Union Hall of Fame. That's a big clue right there, in 2009, and went into the CIAA Hall of Fame in 2017. Does anybody know who I'm talking about? Of course you do. We welcome to the program Mr. Terry Davis. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Cheryl. Thank you for having me.
How does it feel to have accomplished all of that?
Oh, it's nothing but God, and I thank God that, He blessed me to have the opportunity to be able to do it.
The only thing I didn't tell you is that he is a loving father, grandfather, and book author. The name of the book is Second Baptism, and we'll get into that just a little bit later into the interview. So I wanted to talk to you because your life lessons can help so many people. The routes you've taken in life people can look back and say, oh, I can see, yeah, that can help me in my daily life. You, like I said, you played in the NBA for 10 years. You played at Virginia Union University. So you've seen a lot of things, but let's go back to the beginning. Where were you born and how did you end up at Virginia Union University?
I grew up in a small town, Southwest Virginia, Halifax County, South Boston, Virginia. Grew up on a farm, Cheryl, and I always like to mention the farm because, it taught me so many life lessons, hard work and work ethics and discipline. And it's something that carried me all the way through my life.
What were your duties on the farm?
What was my duties?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
What were the chores?
I always say we had 2 sets of clothes. We had a set of school clothes, and we had a set of work clothes when we got off that bus. Mm-hmm. Okay? And so went from raising hogs to milking cows to one of my motivational things that pushed me to want to get out of that small town and make it to the NBA was the tobacco field. But pulling that tobacco was some extremely hard work, and it was extra hard for me, Cheryl, because I was, tall and had to get down on the ground and pull that tobacco. So it was definitely motivation for me to want to get out of there and do something better with my life.
Wow, you said the farm work, that wasn't it, huh? You appreciated it, but that wasn't you.
Nah, well, like I said, it's part of me, and it made me who I am today. You know what I mean? That hard work and discipline that Granddad and them taught, it just carried me all the way through life.
And you went to Virginia Union, but from what I know, you were originally thinking about going to the University of Georgia. Why was that? How did that come about?
Yeah, well, I was highly recruited coming out of high school. Could have went anywhere in the country, and I decided I wanted to go to the University of Georgia. Dominique Wilkins had just left there, and I just loved Georgia down there. But I fell academically short later on, and I had the opportunity to redshirt and stay there, or I had the opportunity to go to Virginia Union. Mm-hmm. And I saw what Coach Robbins had done with Charles Oakley, his 4 years there, and seeing Oakley getting drafted highly in the first round. I felt that I could come right in and follow his footsteps and try to take the same path that he took.
So Coach Robbins came to your living room, or you contacted him?
No, it was alumnus in our hometown named Mr. Jimmy Anderson, and he would take us back and forth all the time. during the weekend to see Virginia Union play. So I was familiar with the school.
Mm-hmm.
But Coach Roberts knew he didn't have a chance of recruiting me and getting me there. But like I said, at the last minute, he came in the back door, and he came down to the hometown, and he sat down with me and Mom and Dad. And, you know, all the coaches from all the big universities, they were telling me that, you know, I could be an All-American there and I can go straight to the NBA and I can do this and do that. But Coach Roberts, it was his integrity that he came in there and he's like, hey, you know, it's Virginia Union, little small university. We don't have much to offer, but we can offer you a quality education, which Norfolk State don't have.
I beg your pardon.
And continue your basketball career. And I said, okay, that's where I want to be.
Did he talk just like that? That's funny. So that sold you or that sold your parents? Who did that sell?
Repeat that again, Cheryl.
When he came and he gave his spiel, who was hooked? Did that do it for you, or did your parents hear that and they say, okay, yeah, that's where you're going to go?
Yeah, I thought it was more my parents. So, you know, they was, you know, really concerned, not so much about the basketball side of it, you know, and that's why I say a lot of parents today, you know, they had enough trust and faith in Coach that when they gave them to me, that he was going to take care of me. Mm-hmm. And their only concern was that I was going to do the right thing and I was going to behave. And if there was anything different, they wanted Coach to let me know. And I think that's the difference in a lot of parents today. They just won't allow coaches to be coaches, and they want to baby these kids and put them in daycare. But Coach Robin was the old hard knocks, you know, school of discipline. And I felt that, you know, if I didn't have the opportunity to play under him, I would have never reached the success that I did.
So when you went to Virginia Union, that freshman year, was it like walking into another world since you had come from such a small town, or since you had been going there, you said a gentleman had been taking you there, was it like you were at home, or did you have any adjustments that you weren't counting on?
Yeah, it was, oh man, it was definitely an eye-opener, Cheryl, coming from a small town and being raised by grandma and mom, raised in the church, and then having the opportunity for them to instill Christ in my life early on. Mm-hmm. And so when I came to Richmond, to Virginia Union, this city was, you know, totally something that I had never seen before. And just Virginia Union in itself, when I got there, it was almost like Sodom and Gomorrah for me, because I was seeing the miniskirts and seeing all these beautiful girls and going to the parties and just shying away from everything that mom and dad, you know, had instilled in me. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I realized that once again that Coach Robbins was there, and him being a father figure, he just made sure that, you know, I stayed on track and I did the right thing. And like I said, I always say Virginia Union is just, you know, the best 4 years of my life.
Virginia Union. So when you went there, were you already perceived as a hotshot basketball player, or did you have to prove to your teammates in the city of Richmond that you were all of that?
No, they pretty much heard, you know, that I was coming and Charles was leaving out, and, you know, they heard a lot about me, and I, you know, 6'10", coming to, you know, Virginia Union and getting a big guy like myself that they knew was highly recruited. Mm-hmm. Everybody was excited. But when I got there, Coach Robbins fooled me because, you know, I was expecting to come in and play, and everybody thought, you know, I was going to be the man. But, you know, Coach Robbins, he has his own hard knock school. And I thought I was just going to come in and do what I wanted to do as a freshman and just shoot jump shots and take the ball between my legs. And don't put no ketchup and mustard on it. Just keep it simple. And I, you know, just ignore him. And here I go, be sitting on the bench. So my whole freshman year, he wouldn't play me. And you know, I look back on it today, you know, Cheryl, he was, you know, really wanting to make a difference in me as a player and as a person. And he just figured out that, if he allowed me to do what I wanted to do and just come in there and just be lazy and not work hard, he knew that I couldn't achieve the things that he saw, the potential he saw in me that I couldn't see in myself.
Okay, you said he fooled you. So you quickly adapted to his way because you knew that was the only way you were going to be on that floor as opposed to riding that pine, right?
Yeah, well, when I first got there, did you hear about the Charles Oakley rule? I said, what is the Charles Oakley rule? Well, I left Charles Oakley because Oakley tried me, and I told Oakley, when the bus leaves the parking lot at 12 o'clock, you better be on the bus. Oakley wasn't on the bus was there at 12 o'clock. Oakley wasn't there. We left Oakley going down to Norfolk State. The guys on the back of the bus said, Coach left Oakley. I said, I sure did, because Oakley is not bigger than the program.
Okay.
Do you understand that, Terry Davis?
And you understood it, right?
Clear as day. I said, if he do that to a Charles Oakley, such an All-American, I know he would do it to me. And that's why, I admire Coach, because 1 through 15, he gave all of them the same respect. It wasn't no prima donna on his team. He wasn't going to favor you because you were a little better than the next guy. Mm-hmm. And what I love about him, he always said, he said the players that he saw a lot of potential, those are players that he rode real hard.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. And when you graduated from Virginia Union, in your mind, what was your life going to be like? The day after you finished with Virginia Union, what was the next day going to be like? What was the rest of your life going to be like?
Well, I was looking forward to fulfilling my dream, of playing in the NBA. I was sad that I was finishing up, my 4 years at Virginia Union. But, I had 2 kids in college, Cheryl. So I knew I was needing occupation to support these kids, and I was excited about going into the NBA. But when draft night came, I didn't get drafted.
Right.
And it kind of, Dawn, it kind of, really had me in a down point. And I went back to Grandma, and Grandma always said, the world might say, 1,000 times no, but God has that one yes for you. And I was always told that you'll be a 1 in a trillion odds that you will make it. But I didn't believe in that. Sure, I always believed in myself, and I believed that if I got the opportunity, that I would definitely prove them wrong. And that's what I got the opportunity to go to Miami undrafted and as a free agent. And by the grace of God, I made the team and was able to fulfill my dream.
What are the best lessons you learned from being in the NBA?
The best lessons I learned, well, it just goes back to Coach Robbins, all the life lessons that he taught, they became reality in the NBA,
Okay.
And one of the things he always said, he said, son, I'd rather for you to be an hour early than a minute late. And so when I got to the NBA, that's something I did. I was always at practice an hour early, and I stayed an hour late, and it won management over. And I got to become friends with a lot of the trainers and a lot of the janitors in the building.
Yep.
And just by doing that, Cheryl, the relationship that I developed with the whole organization, I became a fan favorite. And if I don't take anything else from the NBA, like I said, for me, it was just a blessing, and it was a promise I feel that God had over my life. And if I be obedient, like Grandma said to him, I don't feel it was all my talent that I made it. I feel that it was just by the grace of God, and God just wanted to use me for the kingdom of God like he is today in that NBA, just to be a platform that he can use me to help people to come to Christ.
If you're just joining the program, I am speaking to Terry Davis. Yes, he played basketball at Virginia Union University. Yes, he went on to the NBA. But more importantly, he is a family man, and he has written a book. It's entitled The Second Baptism, and it was inspired by Miss Logan. Tell us that story. Who is Miss Logan, and how did she inspire you?
Logan's my oldest granddaughter by my daughter. I have 2 kids, a son and a daughter. And Logan is the oldest grandchild. And she's definitely a part of my heart, just having that first grandchild. But she was definitely sent from God, Cheryl. And God said that he speaks to the children. And I hear her so vividly all the time. But it was during the pandemic that we was here, and they came here to be with me. And she said, Papa, why don't you write a book? And it dawned on me, and I really, didn't pay it no attention, but she was so persistent on, Papa, why don't you write a book and tell your story, and you can be an author. And so right there, it kind of, ignited that, I could be writing a book, and during this time, I got all the time in the world during the pandemic, why don't I? Mm-hmm. And so she was very inspirational on me starting that book and writing that book, and she's like a little woman, Cheryl. Pop-Up, I'm so proud of you for writing the book, and you're just an author now. You did it, Pop-Up, and I'm just so proud of you.
Oh, my goodness. She sounds adorable. Tell me this. Before the pandemic, what were you doing?
Before the pandemic, 5 years ago, Cheryl, I gave my life to Christ and got baptized and recommitted my life. And at that point, I said, I really wanted to start serving and doing more stuff in the church and doing more stuff for Christ. So that's one of the things in my life that I wanted to spend time and focus on, mm-hmm. was serving in the church. And that's something I hadn't done. I was going to church every Sunday. I was paying my tithe and being faithful, but just spending more time in the church and doing God's will. And so, like I said, in my retirement, I had the 5 grandkids also that I spent a lot of time with. And I'm just doing the will of God, Cheryl, whatever he has for me to do, just like the book. And I'm just here for him to get every piece of glory and inch out of my life that he can.
So if I understand what you're telling me, you have always been Christ-centered because you grew up that way. But 5 years ago, when you said you became recommitted, you just became stronger in that faith?
No, the Holy Spirit came upon me.
Okay.
And the reason why I say that, I started getting convicted of all these things. And I mean, even to the food I was eating, it was like, why are you eating all this junk? Why are you eating all this sugar? Do you want to live longer, or this is how you want to live your life? And it started convicting me of the people I was hanging around with, the relationship that I was in. So I knew it was something that was strange that was going on in my life. So the Holy Spirit was convicting me, and Christ was pretty much saying to me, "Now, Terry, I want you to be like Beyonce, okay? I want you to put a ring on this thing. I don't want you to keep courting me and dating me, okay? I really want to have an intimate relationship with you." Mm-hmm. And in that intimate relationship, Terry, I'm going to show you some things that your eyes haven't seen and your ears haven't heard. And, oh, my God, Cheryl, since that baptism, there have been some amazing things that God has shown me and I have seen that I would have never seen if I didn't decide to commit my life like I have to him today.
I get so mad because this 30 minutes goes by so fast, and I have so many questions in my head. So earlier you were referencing parents today. What is going on with parents today that if you could change, you would change in a New York second? When it comes to their children and being on these sports team, any kind of team, it can be gymnastics, whatever. What are you saying?
Well, I would just say make it mandatory, first of all, that they go to church and they have a relationship with Christ. And secondly, just teach them love. You know what I mean? I feel that's something that's not in the world today. And so many people, not even kids, everything is just driven off emotions, and mm-hmm. people just react off the emotion. But if they would think and they would show love, they wouldn't be in a lot of the situations they in, and you won't hear so many, sad stories on the news. And so, I just go back to, you train up a child in the way it should go, and it just won't turn from those ways once they get older.
But we have the parents that a lot of times are the problem out here. The children are following what they see from the parents in many instances. So if you have the parents in the stands yelling at the coach, yelling at the referees, I mean, Is that not a problem?
Yeah, well, my grandmothers wasn't in the club. You know what I mean? They was in the church. That's what I saw. Like you said, that's the role model. You know what I mean? My grandmother and mom wasn't trying to be my friend. You know what I mean? They was trying to be a mother and make sure that, you know what I mean, I was corrected and I was able to deal and cope, you know, with the real world. And, you know, when the real world jumped on you and someone, you know, the boss or the coach said something to you, you wasn't going to react in a negative way and rebel against it.
Right. Okay. So imagine that you get a phone call this afternoon. You get 2 phone calls this afternoon. One phone call is from Jalen Hurts. And I know yesterday you heard how he got a 5-year, $255 million extension with the Philadelphia Eagles to be their quarterback. No trade clause put together by a young black woman. I know you heard about that. What advice would you have for him? I know it's a different sport, but what advice would you have for a young Jalen Hurts?
Cash app me dope. Look out for the po' boy down here in Virginia. My advice, Cheryl, would be, you know, him understanding that it's not his and that, you know, everything that's given to us is from God. And God expected him to be a good steward of what God has given to him. Mm-hmm. And I just feel, you know, that's part of God's premises for us. It's for us, when he bless us, it's for us to be a blessing. And so, you know, my prayers is that Jalen, you know, use that for the glory of God.
And the second phone call is going to come from Lamar Jackson. As you know, he is another football player embroiled in negotiations with his team, the Ravens, and many people are sitting back criticizing, oh, he doesn't have a real agent and his mother's doing it, and, you know, he's done this, that, and the other for Baltimore, but it seems like those negotiations are dragging on. Some people are saying, well, what's the problem? Why don't you sign him? He's proven himself. What would you say to him, Terry Davis, if you could just have him in the room for 5 minutes? What advice would you give him?
Well, you know, I would, you know, definitely tell him to do what's best for him and his family, and you know, don't settle, you know, because he knows his market value, and you know, I like the fact that you know, Jalen Hurts got what he got, and you know, it kind of, you know, put him, you know, right there in that market, and so he knows his value, and I would tell him, you know, hey, wait it out. You know what I mean? It's nothing that, you know, he have to jump into and settle for. So I would just tell him, you know, do what's best for you and your family, man, and be where, you know you're going to be happy and you're going to, you know, enjoy being when you're being, and don't do it just for the money.
Just don't do it for the money. So the book is entitled Second Baptism. It's written by Mr. Terry Davis. He's my guest today on the line. Yes, came out of Virginia Union University. We won't hold that against him. But now, if somebody asks you today, Terry Davis, what is your job? What is your answer?
My job is a disciple. And I wake up every day to do the will of God and allow God to use me however he's willing to use me. And my job is just to be in the will of God. And, you know, if you read the book, one of my mom's favorite verses, which she always left for me, was Proverbs 3:5-6. And that's trust in the Lord with all of your heart and lean not to your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. And so that's what he's doing in my life. Cheryl, I'm just, you know, trusting God with all my heart, and I'm not leaning to things that I don't understand, and I acknowledge him. And when I look back over my life, I can see, you know, he has ordered my steps every step of the way.
Are you still involved with Virginia Union basketball?
Yeah, Virginia Union is in my blood. Come on, that's for life. And, you know, after I retired, that's one of the things I did. I went back and wanted to get back to the university with Coach Robbins and get them back on the national level. I don't know if Norfolk State know anything about that, but
Norfolk State knows. NCAA, check us out, okay?
But we have a couple of national championships, and so we wanted to get back on the national level. And so I came back in 2005 and worked with the team, and we won back-to-back CIAA championships, and we won a national championship in 2005 as assistant coach. And so I was extremely excited and proud to be able to be a part of that. And like I said, give back to the university. And, one of the things Coach Robbins say that, I don't never speak on because Grandma told me you don't, show the left hand from the right. But every year Charles Oakley started it, him and Coach Robbins, they gave back. Coach Robbins started with Charles to give back a scholarship every year while you're in the NBA. And so then Coach Robbins passed the torch down to me to start doing it, and then passed it down to Ben Wallace to start doing it. And so that's something I'm always proud that I was able to do for the university. And once again, just being a steward of God and being able to, give a scholarship to help some other young person come up the ladder.
The love for your grandchildren comes through loud and clear whenever you speak of them. So when you're with them, are you the grandfather that you get to break all the rules with me because I'm granddad and then send them back to mom and dad? Or are you the granddad where I'm going to teach you the rules that I was taught?
Yeah, I'm the granddad that, my mom and grandparents, both of my grandparents had 13 kids apiece. And so my mom and dad had 13 brothers and sisters on both sides. And one thing I saw every time I went to Grandma's house, it was a lot of love in the house, and always food on the table, always had 3 square meals. We always went to church. And so kind of like you said, Cheryl, I try to instill in the grandkids early, make up your bed. Don't leave the room without making up your bed. Because like we just talked about, I know these little things in life is what's going to carry them throughout life. And so, at 15, 16, I won't have to tell her to make up the bed. You know what I mean? Right. It'll just be second nature and a habit for her. And so, I want to do the same thing Grandma did to me. I don't think, their legacy and their rules and their hard knocks and their ways never changes, you know what I mean? And the love and just having the love for people and love for God. And that's what I want to instill, in the grandkids, just like my kids. I don't care how much money you care. I don't care what title you have. But, as long as you're a good citizen and you loving people and people love you.
It sounds as though the principles instilled in you by your elders is what got you as far as you did, and it's got your son as far as he went, right? Yeah.
Like I said, and those principles are just basically, Cheryl, just serving God and being thankful. You know what I mean? Just being thankful for everything that God has done, being thankful for your parents, being thankful that they're able to put clothes on your back, being thankful they're able to put food on your table, and just being grateful, you know what I mean, in life. And that's what I was always taught, you know what I mean? For every little thing that's given and every little thing that, you have the opportunity to do, just be grateful and thankful for it.
Well, we have about 30 seconds. I'm thankful you joined us today. Can you tell people, please, how they can get your book?
Yes. You can go on Amazon and just look up Terry Davis, Second Baptism.
And on social media, how can they get to you? Or can they get to you on social media?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook.
Okay.
That's about it.
That's it. That's enough. Terry Davis, thank you for being my guest today. I really appreciate it, right?
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Even though it's bad blood, we'll do it for the HBCU.
And I need to thank Kevin, my friend that connected us, because he thinks so highly of you, and he's the one that made this connection. So thank you, Kevin. All right.
Thanks, Kev.
Yep. Thank everybody who listened today. Look, you all have a great rest of the Sunday. Cheryl Wilkerson signing off. Check you out next week. Behold the green and gold.